DnD! Hello! Hopefully you're still here after that. My name is Nam, and welcome to Everything is Inspiration, where the idea is that everything that happens in your life, people you see, places you go, the experience you have can somehow be translated into Dungeons & Dragons or any tabletop related material, especially if you're homebrewing. The best things about your game as a Dungeon Master is what you bring to the table. So, that being said, I don't know how to start this channel, so I was browsing Reddit the other day and saw that Bunboy was doing the 30-day Reddit challenge. He is an artist. You should check him out. Maybe I'll link him down in the doobly-doo. That's the word that I've heard Matt Colville use and the Vlogbrothers use. So I'm going to use it too. Why not? Anyway, the first thing that we want to talk about is how did you start? When I think about how I started, I can't help but think about the ways that I could have started but didn't. For example, when I was in 7th grade, my science teacher, Miss Nolan, I hope you're doing well, was saying something about how kids would waste time not doing their homework and playing stuff like Dungeons & Dragons. And the kid in the back, his name was Chris, I would eventually become friends with him to a certain degree. I shouted out, "Yeah, Dungeons & Dragons!" in that way that people who are really passionate about it thing is. I didn't play, but I was curious. And then later on, I had another opportunity to play. My second time that I could have played Dungeons & Dragons was in high school. This was after I had started reading fantasy fiction. I tried to read Lord of the Rings, but failed, but I did know of the existence of Dungeons & Dragons in like the computer game space thanks to BioWare. I didn't play any of their games because it was beyond me, but I was playing stuff like Final Fantasy, so it wasn't that different. Anyway, I remember that there were these kids that would hang around the gum tree, around a bench, and would have a dice and roll the dice every once in a while, and every once in a while they would actually strike poses as if they were doing actions, and I was curious, and then one day, I find myself in the class with one of those kids. He was tall, had a ponytail, wore a trench coat, and black boots. And in just saying the trench coat thing, every school has one. And sad to say that they are the ones that are most likely to bring some form of firearms. That's so fucked up. Ooh. Anyway, I played a game with him after expressing interest in class. For reasons that I perhaps will go into at a later date, I just didn't have fun, so I didn't continue playing. The third time I really could have gotten into D&D was when I was in my World of Warcraft phase. My buddy Togoff online, hope you're doing good. My buddy Eric, which I talk to all the time. Gardak, who was the lead tank in our guild at the time. We all played a one-shot that involved some puzzles, which I thought were really neat, but what stood out for me were like the little moments that were just random. But I remember being a fighter in full plate, and I learned what a natural 20 was. I swam through a river like a shark to sneak up on some goblins. We get into a fight with those goblins, and then I roll a natural 1 to essentially cleave my buddy Eric's cleric in half. For whatever reason, though, I wasn't snake bit at that moment. But my first real start was when I found a post on Craigslist, of all places, looking for additional players. And I guess I must have been looking to play. And so I must have sounded normal enough. He invited me to go play, and I introduced my half-orc cleric. And I brought along a monk. The monk's player actually had a character die in the previous session, and which led to some really awesome role-playing by Danielle, our paladin. That campaign would end about 6 months to 12 months later, but not before that paladin lost her connection and regained it to her god because of some of the actions that she had participated in the heat of the moment. She had tortured a dude right after her friend had died. My buddy Dan, who was playing our wizard at the time, and myself got deputized to play some guards, and we were shaking down Remy's monk for trying to sneak in, and then it just devolved into this hilarious Abbott and Costello routine. Another final memory that I have was having to get our ranger back and regenerate his hands after he had gone off in the middle of the night while we were resting to try and kill his mortal enemy, which happened to be the general that was sleeping in the middle of a goddamn war camp. That campaign ended in a grand battle in the throne room, and I had a lot of fun, but for whatever reason, I tried to keep the game going, or I tried to keep the group going by starting my own campaign, but it didn't fly. A lot of that probably had to do with certain expectations that, as time has gone on, I've learned to let go of. But before that happened, I played a couple of games of Pathfinder, especially in Society. I played a couple of Adventure League games in 4th edition. I did Star Wars Fantasy Flight with some theater company people. I also did some Dragon Age by Green Ronin. Did that game with some people from my theater company when I was still studying. But it wasn't until very recently that everything kind of clicked into place, and I have to give proper credit to the Critical Role people, especially the DM, Matthew Mercer, for facilitating such an awesome thing. I don't know how to say this without sounding judgmental, but for normalizing this otherwise perceived nerdy activity. And you know what? These days it's okay to be a nerd. It's awesome to be a nerd. And that's something that I wish I'd had growing up, but now here I am talking about this stuff, and I'm happy to do so because I get so much satisfaction and joy from being able to facilitate stuff like this for the people that I care about. Thank you for listening to this. Hopefully with time I get more comfortable with this. Hopefully I'll see you guys in the next video, all 2 of you that are actually watching this. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them down below. The plan is to try and get a video out every day, Monday through Friday, for 6 weeks to complete the challenge, because I am fucking out of my mind, but not enough to where I'm going to sacrifice my weekend, because I think that would be too much. I will see you guys soon. Play DnD.
Having so much fun out there. Hey, buddy.